What if everything you were taught about strength was wrong? What if the very parts of you you've spent years hiding were actually the key to your healing? We live in a world obsessed with perfection, a world that rewards the polished, the controlled, the flawless. Maybe you were raised in a family where mistakes weren't allowed. Maybe you served in a job where a single error could cost everything. Maybe you learned early that the safest version of you was the one who never slipped, never cracked, never needed anything. So you built yourself into someone strong, someone capable, someone impossible to break, or at least that's what you hoped. But perfection isn't strength. Perfection is survival mode, wearing a mask. And behind that mask is a nervous system that's exhausted, a heart that's tired of pretending, a person who never got to be fully human. There's a voice inside many of us, loud, sharp, unforgiving, a voice that tells you, do better, be better, don't slip, don't fail. For some of us, that voice was born in childhood. For others, in service, on shift, in trauma, on duty, in the pressure to keep it all together so everyone else could fall apart. That voice isn't you. It's a collection of expectations, fears, and old wounds trying to protect you from ever being hurt again. But perfection doesn't protect you. It isolates you. It stops you from growing. It steals your humanity and replaces it with shame. You don't need to silence that inner critic. You need to understand where it came from and gently teach it a new way to speak. We've been told that vulnerability is weakness, that showing our edges makes us fragile, that the world only respects the strongest, the toughest, the unbreakable ones. But here's the truth. Your edges are where the light gets in. Your cracks are where connection grows. Your stories, your scars, your imperfect moments, they're the parts of you that make others feel less alone. And maybe no one has ever told you this, but you don't need to apologize for being human. You don't need to hide the parts of you that tremble. You don't need to pretend you're fine when you are breaking. Vulnerability isn't the opposite of strength. It is strength. The kind that heals, the kind that frees, the kind that lets others take a breath and say, me too. So how do you start embracing your imperfections? How do you soften after years of being hard on yourself? You start small, with a pause, with a breath, with a moment of mindful self-compassion. Try saying to yourself, it's okay for me to be learning. It's okay for me to make mistakes. And it's okay for me to be imperfect. Take imperfect action. Show up, even when you're scared. Try again, even when you doubt yourself. Celebrate the tiny wins, not because they're impressive, but because you're choosing growth over fear. That's where self-acceptance begins, in the moments where you let yourself be human. Life isn't about becoming flawless. It's about becoming real. It's about building a life that honors your values, your story, your humanity. You flourish not when everything is perfect, but when you stop fighting yourself, when you learn to meet your imperfections with curiosity instead of shame, when you allow yourself to be seen, heard, and held, even in the messy chapters, when you realize that you don't need to be extraordinary to be worthy. You just need to be you. And maybe, just maybe, your imperfections aren't something to fix. Maybe they're the map to the most authentic, meaningful, liberated version of yourself. So if you've spent a lifetime trying to be perfect, maybe it's time to try something new. Maybe it's time to flourish, not despite your imperfections, but because of them.